Alright, we're back to this shit. Yeah, anyway. So, I think we're somewhere reading the court case. I had to reload the file, so I'm not sure if I'm in exactly the same spot, but whatever. So we should be getting to some of the good stuff. Should be.
Adopt an iron rule of equal taxation. Right, iron rule of equal taxation. There you go. See, now you really can get this, right? That the old court, actually he's quoting a 1940 court, right? So that's how far back he has to go to find anything at all.
And again, Gary, since I watched your video before you watched mine, the next case he quotes is from the 1950s, actually, and he quotes other cases throughout.
Yeah, I know. That's probably general procedure. You cite the most solid precedent for an argument. And my point is that you have to go back pretty far. The precedent has been established for a long time. This is established law. This isn't for debate anymore. It's kind of established that this is the standard, and the standard existed 50 years ago. Okay, this idea that the 14th Amendment does apply and that you can't discriminate in the application of these, establishing these classifications.
The decades. But again, Gary, you say the 1940 court's so great, so I guess that means you support Korematsu. And again, in the 1940s, the court...
That's not my argument. My argument is that the current courts haven't overruled those previous courts. That's why he's citing these old cases, is because nothing in the current courts has basically have just said, go see this decision, go see this decision, go see this decision. They haven't made a new decision saying that's no longer valid, this is the new law. That's my point, shit for brains.
Apparently didn't have a problem with the 94% income tax rate on the top earners in America.
Oh, so now you're going to change the subject again. All right, you want to argue the economic system, which is a completely different structure. You want to say that there's some liberty interest in acquiring or creating an empire, a personal empire. So if I'm William Randolph Hearst and I want to maliciously destroy all the other publishers, and I'll put them all out of business because they're going to afford to lose $1 million a year, and I monopolize and I capitalize and I take over the entire thing, then now I own it. Now I can just rent it to the rest of you people. So theoretically, somebody could get preposterously wealthy, own the entire United States of America, and rent it to the citizens of America. And you would be comfortable with that scenario because it was constitutionally consistent. Okay, it allowed people to acquire obscene wealth, obscene ownership, monarchy all over again. And our Constitution shouldn't do anything to stop that from happening. That it wouldn't be one of our citizen liberty interests not to be owned again. No, I think it is one of our fundamental liberty interests. So, yeah, there's two separate subjects, though, right? Equal treatment of vice holders, of liberty seekers in terms of functional lifestyle decisions, and the economic system. These are two different things. You do understand that, right? No, you don't understand that. That's right. You're a friggin' capitalist whore who thinks liberty should have something to do with money. Got it. You suck. Yeah, friend of Matt, and you suck. Really, Matt, you have no standards whatsoever for your friendship, right? I mean, fuck. You're just plain creepy. Sorry, but this guy's creepy.
Taking 94% of their money, whereas you're bitching about what? 30% for cigarettes or something?
Well, you can keep saying 30%. It's $3,000 in fees and whatever you want to call them, in excess payments I have to make to the United States government in some form, to government officials in some form. I have to spend $3,000 to smoke cigarettes. I have to give it not to tobacco growers, not to tobacco producers, but to some government entity to enjoy my liberty. So I'm saying I should tax you, okay? If you're a minority, we shouldn't sit there and give you fucking rights. We should just tax you out of functional existence. And that's what you're supporting and defending. Fine, got it. Whatever the majority wants, it should take. Fuck you. You suck.
And it's probably not even that high.
And here's
well, again, so that's just a grotesque lie. So there's no rational basis for this conversation if you're going to keep denying that I'm spending $75 for something I should be spending $7.50 for. If you're going to keep denying that truth, then you're just a fucking preposterous asshole.
The court is clearly saying, okay, you can have some fudge. You can mess with the code a little bit. It doesn't have to be explicitly fair and equal. But that doesn't mean it can be preposterously unfair and preposterously unequal.
And it's not.
Okay, so there. What's the point of having this argument? It's not. It's not based on what rational standard? How the fuck is 800% and 30% not a grotesque difference? How is the income derived from these fees and excises and nonsense obviously different when 100 million people are paying less money in fees for their vice than 20 million people are paying for their vice? The facts are the facts. You can't deny that part of the fact. I mean, that just demonstrates a complete denial of reality. And so, yeah, of course, if justice is something to do with a non-reality, non-truth, non-fact, then yeah, there's no fucking common ground here at all. Fuck you. Why should I acknowledge any part of your humanity then? I can just say you don't fucking exist, you fucking ugly pile of shit. Or you're just that, an ugly pile of shit. And you should be goddamn stepped on.
Well, obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah, well, again, obviously, you can mock the word obviously, but guess what? It means something. It means you can't deny it. And it means you haven't denied it. So it does make you a liar now, asshole. It makes you a grotesque motherfucking cunt liar.
God, Gary. Okay, if anyone's made it this far in the video, did Gary sound like fucking Fran Drescher, this obviously thing there, or is that just...
Well, you should really talk. You're pretty affected there, buddy.
Yeah, you really are a little bit Pee-wee Herman-esque, you know.
Just me.
Just me.
And the passage of time,
Fuck it. Fuck it. Fuck it. Fuck it. I'm going to pretend to smoke a cigar again. Fuck it.
Traditionally, classification has been a device for
Yeah, it's you talking, douchebag.
in order to achieve an equitable distribution of the tax burden. It has, because of this, been pointed out that in taxation, even more than in other fields, legislatures process the greatest freedom in classification, since the members of the legislature necessarily enjoy a familiarity of local conditions, which this court cannot have the presumption of constitutionality. Can be overcome.
Yeah, whatever. So he's reading again the Supreme Court decisions where they are basically keep arguing that yes, you don't have to have the same treatment, but similarly situated do have to be treated similarly. Not exactly the same.
Isn't that even ironic language? That, yes, basically the majority elects the local politicians, right? So again, clearly there is no implication here that minority vices should be taxed. And certainly that 1940 court would in no way endorse the discriminatory taxation of a minority vice.
Again, it's not a minority thing, Gary. And
well, again, that's exactly the claim, bozo, that there's no other explanation for the disparity in treatment, and you haven't provided an explanation for the disparity in treatment, so there's no other explanation except it is a minority vice, and that's why it's being bigoted on. That's what bigotry is. Bigotry is an act of the majority against a minority. That's the way it works. It doesn't mean anything if it's reversed. Power is in the majority's hand. The Constitution is to regulate that power. Period.
they were fine with taxing a minority of people at 94% of their income.
Well, again, you're comparing apples and oranges. You want to do that, that's your prerogative. It just demonstrates that you don't want to stay on the subject and don't want to deal with this issue. Okay, I can just say that then. Okay, since the government endorsed the differential taxation of people's incomes, then we can discriminate against homosexuals, and we can have different standards for who should get married. So by your own logic, we can just say you don't have any rights then, because we took away the rights of the capitalists who own the country, the inherited legacy wealthers to rent us a life. Well, since we've refined their rights, we can refine the rights of other people. So we can just take away the rights of we all don't like homosexuals, right? We all think they suck. So yeah, let's treat them like shit. I mean, that's your logic. Every subject's the same subject. You can't separate the economic system, the rules of that game, the necessity to regulate capitalism. You can't separate that from the necessity to socially engineer or encourage behavior. That these two things are two different subjects, and you can't find the distinction between these subjects, that individual liberty interests are a little different than economic system. Well, of course you could, but you are unwilling to because you're a piece of fucking shit. So understand, he has sympathy for a billionaire capitalist who may have acquired their fortune through monopoly manipulation of a market. He has sympathy for their tax burden, and yet he has no sympathy for a minority vicer who has been taxed out of access to their liberty. And Matt's friends with this asshole. Yeah, it's funny.
Classification is a hostile and oppressive discrimination against particular persons and classes. The burden is on the one attacking the legislative arrangement to negative every conceivable basis which might support it.
Right. So I just now haven't I basically obligated you to do that?
No, Gary. What I just read out was a judge saying that if you are claiming the law is unconstitutional, you have to demonstrate how it's unconstitutional.
No. You have to first provide me an explanation. If I say it's discriminatory, you say, no, it's not. This is the reason why there's differential treatment. You first have to provide a reason why there's differential treatment. I've demonstrated the differential treatment. That can't be disputed. What has to be argued is you have to provide an explanation for why there's differential treatment. And then it's my burden to prove that your explanation is invalid. So if you say something like, well, because cigarette smokers are fundamentally evil. And then I could just say, well, that's just preposterous nonsense, and you can't use that as a basis for this differential treatment. Or you say cigarette smoking, you have to come up with some explanation. Obviously, there isn't one. You have to explain why cigarette smokers are more of a threat to society than alcoholics. And you can't do that, so you're not going to be able to provide me any kind of rational argument. You can't defend the disproportionate treatment as anything other than an expression of bigotry. Give me the explanation, you fucking cunt. I'm saying you're a fucking bigot. Now explain to me why it isn't bigotry. Explain that, fucker. Jeez, you're dumb.
So you haven't obligated me to do anything.
I basically said, look, I can't. Give me one reason for this inequity that doesn't point to discrimination.
Not how it works. Give one.
Yes, that is exactly how it works, asshole. That's exactly what this court said. Okay? I make a charge. You provide an explanation. The burden is on me to prove your explanation fallacious. So if you come up with some kind of silly explanation like, well, cigarette smokers kill people. Well, that won't work because then you have to explain why alcoholics don't. Idiot.
Reason how it's unconstitutional. Oh, wait, you haven't been able to do that yet.
That's not my obligation. You're the one restricting the liberty. So first the burden is on you. Okay? You're the one taking away the liberty. So now you have to explain why this liberty interest is less valuable than that liberty interest. So you have to explain why there's a differential first. Then it's my burden to prove that that's a discriminatory reason, that that is an invalid reason for some reason. I have a complete burden to prove that that reason isn't any good. So you can come up with almost anything, any preposterous reason will work as long as it's somewhere close to something reasonable. It has to be within some sort of reasonable framework. It can be a little crazy, a little wacky, but it has to be something the court can say, oh, that's an honest mistake, or that's just misspeaking. It has to be something like that. but to provide nothing. You've provided no explanation for the differential in treatment. No explanation. You haven't provided any. So I have no obligation till you provide an excuse. I'm charging you with being a motherfucking cunt bigot. Your response is, no, I'm not. That's not good enough, shithead.
And you've been trying now for over 13 years.
Give me one.
I haven't been trying anything anymore. I found, it says right in my papers, I say right in the papers before even the appeal. I've acknowledged, okay, this is a kangaroo court. I have no rights here. I can't argue my constitutional rights. You've narrowed the argument to nothing. You've sat there and I've had to sit there and surrender. I've had to grab my constitutional rights as they're drowning in the ocean that you're trying to suffocate them. And I have to keep saying, Your Honor, you're violating my constitutional rights. Your Honor, you're violating my constitutional rights. Yeah, what's the fucking point of arguing in courts made up like this? Fucking judges who don't know their fucking jurisdiction? It's outrageous. Judges who give me no fucking response to anything. I make a claim and he just throws it in the garbage. Yeah, fuck you. I gave up.
One reason why,
Over 10 years.
Alcohol is a better vice. Give me.
It kills less people. And also, some alcohol does have health benefits.
Oh, what a fucking goddamn joke. What a fucking joke. So you're going to argue for the health benefits of some alcohol in the face of what alcohol has, the rape it commits against human civilization. I mean, what a fucking goddamn joke. And it kills less people. What a fucking outrageous commentary that is. I mean, okay, so that's your lie then. You're just living a fucking lie. You're just a fucking preposterous liar. Okay? And does it kill more people in their productive years? That's the real argument here, right? And let's take the total amount of life years, or however you want to calculate it. Okay? Alcohol wins by far. But go ahead. All right, so now at least we know what the argument is. You don't think alcohol is a worse vice than cigarettes. You don't think it's more socially destructive. You think cigarette smoking is proportionally, let's say 800 divided by 30 is what? 3/8, probably, let's just say 20 times. You think cigarette smoking is 20 times more destructive to civilization, society, the human race than alcohol. Cigarettes are 20 times more harmful to human beings than alcohol has been. Well, if that's your theory, I think you are even a bigger, ignorant sack of shit than I thought before.
One reason why overeating is a better vice, that somehow it's a less destructive, less expensive.
I don't think it is.
Okay, well then the argument's over. Okay, then you've just conceded my argument. You don't think it is a worse vice, yet it is not taxed at all. Why? Crickets? Yeah. Because you're bigots.
Let some category.
Well, at least overeating, you can't inflict secondhand overeating on someone else.
Well, guess what? You can't inflict secondhand smoking on anyone else anymore either, especially if you're a single person, so there's no reason to take away my right because somebody else can't use their right responsibly. So again, you can regulate public space, you can regulate the interest of children, you don't need to take away the liberty. So again, under the Constitution, under Supreme Court decision, if there's a less onerous way to solve the problem than extraction of the liberty, you choose the less onerous method. So if you can regulate a liberty, you use that first, you don't take away a liberty, or you don't tax it out of accessibility. That's the obligation under the fucking Supreme Court decisions.
Unless you're literally tying them down and shoving food in their face.
And there's plenty of parents who are doing that to their kids right now. We don't even call it child abuse. They're pretty much doing that. I mean, let's not argue about what the essence of it is. They're obviously overfeeding their children.
It fits into, besides it being a majority vice, show me one category it fits into that cigarettes do not, that should exempt it.
Secondhand smoke kills people.
All right, so there we go. Right? I mean, like I said, we've already. There's no secondhand smoke was a fallacious argument at best, even when secondhand smoke existed in the real public arena. All right, when they statistically followed waiters or waitresses, no indication of higher cancer risk. So, and they spent years in smoke-filled businesses. So the fact that they can't find huge differentials between people who had employment jobs that involved a heavy dose of secondhand smoke versus a light dose demonstrates that this argument for secondhand smoke is just statistical perversion. They're just playing with statistics, and they're playing with records, death certificates, which have been, in my opinion, cooked, okay, by the fact that they always blame cigarettes. If there's something to blame, if there's 5 or 6 different things that could be blamed for the problem, cigarettes always blamed. That's how the system has worked for 50 years, and that's the fraud. But this argument from secondhand smoke is just so bogus. Like I say, it was bogus 30 years ago. Now it's preposterous, because there is no atmosphere where secondhand smoke could possibly be relevant. There's no smoke-filled rooms anymore, shithead. There just aren't.
From the same treatment. That's your... Oh.
No, again, it's not my obligation. You have to demonstrate how it's unconstitutional, and you have failed.
No, I have no obligation to prove anything. I make the accusation of bigotry. It is the obligation of the Attorney General to explain why it's not bigotry. And then if I can't shoot down her explanation, I lose. But she has to make an explanation. She has to answer the charge of bigotry, you stupid fuck. I mean, I can't provide the argument of why they didn't have a bigoted agenda if they don't provide me an agenda. If they don't explain what their function or purpose is in the differential, I can't argue it. They can't just be not obligated to explain why there's a differential. They have to explain why there's a difference in the treatment. And then it's my obligation to explain how that explanation for the differential is not valid. I mean, well, this is just common sense. I shouldn't have to argue this shit.
Okay, it's my obligation to say I can find none. Okay? That's all I can do. There is...
No, you have to show how it's unconstitutional. God, you are a fucking idiot.
No, I'm sorry. No sale, fucktard. If I treat homosexuals, if I bigot against homosexuals, if I make a law that says homosexuals should be in death camps, all right, under the Constitution, it would be my obligation to defend that, to explain why they belong there, why they should be treated differently. I have to explain it. I'd have to do that in a goddamn court, and you goddamn know it, you fucking cunt. We ought to put all you people away. You're such a threat to society, all your fucking dirty diseases, all your little anal diseases.
No other explanation. There is no alternative explanation.
Well, there's multiple explanations.
Yeah, multiple explanations for what? How these two vices should be treated differently. How they have a different social impact, and in some categories, cigarette smokers are somehow worse than alcoholics. Liar, liar, liar.
An explanation. If that explanation cannot be produced, the court is saying you can't do it.
No.
Yep.
Ohio versus Bowers, 358 U.S. 522, decided by the court in 1959.
See, 1959. Spoiler alerts come true in my videos, because I watch Gary's videos.
Well, again, when did I say there was going to be no other court cases the judge would cite? I didn't say that. I'm simply establishing that here's legal precedent from the 40s, the 50s. These are all cases the judge is saying are valid. This is where the law was settled. This is long settled law. Not newly settled law, long settled. Before the Civil Rights Act, this was settled law. Before there were special cases and special categories and all this other crap, it was already settled fucking law, dumbass.
Before I respond to them,
the court states at pages 526 and 27 that, quote, of course the states in their exercise of taxing power are subject to the requirements of equal protection
2 minutes left
of the 14th Amendment.
Well, there you go. They're saying it pretty clearly, okay, that you can't have a tax. And the 14th Amendment basically says under equal protection, they're just basically...
Well, Gary, I went over the 14th Amendment and I went over the different Classes of People, one of my earlier videos, so go ahead and play catch up and get it.
No, I don't have to do your Classes of People, shithead. He just cited 2 court cases, Supreme Court cases that are still legal precedent, okay? 2 fucking court cases before the Civil Rights Act, shithead. So I don't have to worry about your Classes of People bullshit. It has nothing to do with Classes of People. It has to do with liberty interest, you dumb, motherfucking ugly cunt. So again, you are wrong.
Like you will here.
You're wrong
You
again.
can't have disproportional treatment. You can't treat one class of people differently than another class.
Nope.
That's in the same situation. And unless
All people who purchase cigarettes are subject to the same tax.
Well, again, that's not the argument under any discrimination law. That's not in any of those court cases where people showed up into that Supreme Court. Did the Supreme Court say, well, quite obviously, you make wheels on a car and you make engine parts, so you're 2 different classes of people. No, it was understood they're both manufacturers of car parts, and it's understood that alcoholism and cigarette smoking are liberty interests, okay, of basically the same functional plane of liberty interest, okay? They're vices that human beings enjoy, period, okay? And there's no reason to take away one vice without taking away the other vice if they are both equally destructive.
Same situation.
unless you have some reason to treat them differently, people treated differently have a right to protest and say, fuck you, you can't do that.
And you continue to use your right to protest. Here you are protesting.
Yes, and I'm protesting with no counter-argument to my claim that you're just an ugly bigot. And that's what you are. A fucking bigot who's demanding from other people rights. Who's claiming some right. Well, fuck you and your goddamn rights, you fucking bigot.
Has the government come in and restricted your right to make videos protesting the cigarette tax?
Well, that's not the fucking... If they tried to do that, that would make your argument about what government is even more preposterous. The government should sit there and fucking attack me for protesting, for arguing, for free speaking. Yeah, we can see where you're going, shit for brains.
No. Have they stood in front... Have they prevented you from going around...
I went to court and told the judge the tax is excessive and discriminatory, and he responded with, we can tax cigarettes. Yeah.
People in New Jersey and getting their vote in politicians that would be opposed to this? No. Have they stopped you from writing letters to your state rep?
Again, this is irrelevant. I made my claims in a court as I'm required, and I did not get constitutionally consistent justice. I proved the justice system is corrupt. I proved when you appeal, you don't get an appeal, and so that there is no protection. The system is fundamentally incapable of protecting our constitutional rights. We, in fact, do not have any constitutional rights because a court can throw them in the garbage can. That's what I proved. Do I have to go back? I mean, I really should just play the conversation with the judge when the judge says, you don't have constitutional rights in my court. And that's how it turned out. I didn't have any constitutional rights, and I wasn't able to defend my constitutional rights in the United States court. Period. That's what I demonstrated. My job is done. Justice does not exist in this fucking shit-for-brain asshole country that allows assholes like you to even vote.
Representatives about how this tax is bad or whatever. No. Have they stopped you from getting a sign and standing in front of the court?
It's not my job. I fucking am claiming it's unconstitutional. I made the valid argument, and I wasn't allowed to get a just decision. Okay? There's no point in going any further. If we don't have courts that are honest, and we don't have courts that are accountable, and if we don't have courts that are self-correcting through appeal, then we don't have a constitution, that we don't have a country. It's just a facade. It's a fucking pile of shit.
House or the State House or whatever and protesting this? No. Have they stopped you from writing op-eds in newspapers? No. So your right to protest has not been affected at all.
Well, that's not my argument. Again, my right is to defend my constitutional rights, which were violated, and I wasn't allowed to do that.
In the slightest.
Whereas, again, the 1950 court would again, the 1959 court again would have said, it would have ruled in my favor.
Again, 94% tax rate, fucker.
Well, again, I'm not going to argue economics and cigarette smoking. They're two different subjects. You can't figure that out, then fuck you and fuck all the people. Like I said, all the people subscribe to this asshole. He's more sympathetic with people making so much money that they fit into the 94% category, which meant they were basically making $1 million or more a year. And he's sympathetic to their liberty interest, and he's not sympathetic to poor people having to pay $3,000 to smoke cigarettes, the same amount that some rich guy pays. The millionaire pays $3,000, the guy making $10,000 a year pays $3,000, and he thinks that's equitable distribution of the burden. So that's your pal. That's the guy, that's the dick you're sucking, assholes. What can I say? You suck too, Matt.
The clause imposes no iron rule of equality, prohibiting the flexibility and variety that are appropriate to reasonable schemes of state taxation. The state may impose different specific taxes on different trades and professions and vary the rate of excise on various products. It is not required to resort to close distinctions or maintain a precise scientific uniformity.
Right, precise scientific uniformity. Right? No one's claiming they weren't precisely uniform. 800%. 30%.
You keep saying those numbers like they're gonna fucking mean anything when you're wrong, but okay.
Well, I'm not gonna argue it. $75 bucks.
Of precisely uniform.
39% top tax rate, 0% for people who earn not enough money to be taxed at the federal level.
Okay, again, so anybody subscribe to this scumbag? He's bringing up the fact that we tax income as something to do with our fundamentally liberty interest. And again, his argument basically is if you're rich, you should have everything. If you're poor, you should have nothing under the Constitution. That's the country he wants to live in. Rich men have liberty, poor men have nothing. I mean, this guy's for slavery, so I mean, a guy who's for slavery, I think we could say, yeah, he'd row boat to any other country would be fine.
Wow, I guess that discrimination is fine. Hint, it is.
Form.
I'm sorry, it's not the same subject, retard.
It's so far fucking away from precisely uniform. The claim is not that it's not precisely uniform. The claim is it's preposterously unequal.
Spoiler alert came true again. Gary got cut off mid-sentence because that was the end of his video. Well, guys, it looks like my 2-hour and roughly 5-minute video. Well, I don't know how much of my video Gary got through because he stopped repeatedly and skipped a bunch of stuff.
Well, why didn't you just answer that last claim, you fucking cunt? Oh, that's right, because you have no answer.
I think about halfway through, roughly, through my video, so I guess we're going to see how that goes.
Yeah, spoiler alert. There's a part 2, retard. Yeah, spoiler alert. Yeah, whatever. All right. Well, I'm not gonna do this play thing. Obviously, it'll take forever. So I will start to take notes again on part 2. And maybe I'll just look. We've already been over all these arguments. Maybe I'll just stick to where he talks about his lawyer friend, because that ought to be interesting. Because maybe that's what we need here. Is a real lawyer to talk about how yes, it's appropriate for judges not to get their jurisdiction right. That's never a catastrophic error when judges get jurisdiction wrong. Yeah. That'd be an interesting conversation. This stuff gets pretty funny. I haven't even started the video yet. I have to get through the ad. But the little peach. So, in Garyland, cigarette smokers are a recognized minority group now. Okay, so lie some more, right? I've never claimed that cigarette smokers themselves are the thing that's important here. Like they're the thing. The thing is the cigarette, okay? That's what's being taxed, is the cigarette, the liberty to smoke. Bitch. Yeah, you're really dumb, aren't you? Yes, you are. Yeah, that's why, that's 1940 law, 1950. Guess what? That was before the Civil Rights Act. That's before there was classification of minority-interested individuals, okay? You don't need to be a class of human being to be discriminated against. All you need is to be recognizable as somebody who has a liberty interest. Retard. And here I thought they were just drug addicts. So that's an interesting classification. You know, it really is. So what is drug addicts mean they should be taxed? Is that how you think the world should work? So you're not for legalizing drugs, you're for you are for legalizing and taxing it out of poor people's access. So only rich people should be allowed to do drugs. And so anyway, yeah, and that's what it's really about. So here somebody pointed out coffee should be taxed, and so look at what this idiot says. Cardinal Jerktudes. I drink a heavy amount of coffee each day, and I'd fully support the excess tax on it right now, even if it doesn't have any horrible health effects. So even if it's not bad for your health, we should tax it out of availability to poor people. Poor people shouldn't be allowed to drink coffee now. So everything should only be a rich man luxury. Every single fucking thing should just be accessible to the rich. And the working poor, fuck them. That's his philosophy. And you fuckers are kissing his ass. And Peach thinks you're all fucking drug addicts. And if you're a drug addict, you should somehow be discriminated against in society. Oh, here she said some more. Wait a minute. Oh, I wasn't making the argument that cigarettes should be taxed and food should not. I was scoffing at the comparison of a food item to cigarettes. Well, it's not a food item. It's an unhealthy liberty. We're talking about a liberty interest. So you're saying the liberty interest to eat chocolate eclairs should be free from taxation. The liberty interest to eat greasy burgers at your stupid cunt restaurant, it's probably all skanky there. That liberty interest should be free. You should be free to be a fat fuck, but you shouldn't be free to smoke a cigarette in your fucking house. These two liberty interests are not, they're not even comparable. They're not even the realm of the same kind of idea, because the fat pigs are really cool and the smokers really suck. And that's just the truth, right? You preposterously ignorant fucking moron. Why the fuck do they call you the Peach anyway? What, you got fuzz on your breast or something? What the fuck is that? The Peach. The Peach. I don't think you're a fucking Peach. I think you're a fucking skanky cunt. Yes, I think you are. So anyway, on with the show. Let's see how it begins it anyway.
Howdy, everyone. So,
Fuck
Gary,
you.
I'm now responding to Gary's part 2 of Senior Butt Plug, which is the video response he did to the second to last video I did. And I want to point something out that Angelic9 pointed out to me. Apparently, so far, not including this video you're watching now, my entire series of videos to Gary is about 30 seconds longer than the entirety of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So I did...
Yeah, and it's not even close. Not even close to as good. Yeah, not even close.
I think I've spent quite a bit of time on this, and this will be the very last time I acknowledge Gary on YouTube. I know a lot of...
Oh, yeah. What? Then more bold talk from a stupid, smelly, fat man. Like I haven't heard that crap before, Putsy. Yeah, go ahead. It won't be the last time I talk to you, butt plug. All right? Because you're a butt plug. You're a goddamn human goddamn menace with this bullshit. Go ahead. Tax coffee out of the poor man's reach. Fuck you, you cunt. Where job have you really worked? Where have you earned your fantastic fortune? You're apparently some kind of millionaire, and you got blotchy crap on the wall over there. Whose the fuck's house is this you're living in? What the fuck are you talking about anyway? What is this shit? You fucking descended from what, Mexican kings? Fuck you. You are such a fucking turd. Fuck you. This is the kind of people the world don't need. More of these fucking elitist cunts. Only rich people should have freedom. They're the only ones who have earned it. Wink, wink. Yeah, my daddy said I earned it. Yeah, I bent over and Daddy said, good job. Yeah, that's how it works, right, fucker? Yeah, fuck you people. Anyway, so we'll play this. We'll wait till we get to something good. I want to get to the lawyer talk. His friend, the lawyer. That's what I want to see. I want your friend, the lawyer, to show me, to come. Let him make the conversation. Let your friend, the lawyer, make a video. Anyway, we'll get to that. So anyway, he just did some spoiler alerts, which I just thought I would since, he's doing spoiler alerts, I'll just do like, well, yeah, you're probably going to do something stupid again, like where you don't read the law where it says exemption for people who have filed appeals. Yeah. And note, this whatever document doesn't show 3/4 of the taxes being collected. Those kind of things. Yeah, spoiler alert. yeah, you're full of shit is what you are. Anyway, so he says he's titled it with summary judgment in here, as if I don't know what summary judgment is. Now, fuck you. Okay, I'm an expert on summary judgment, because I've had it used maliciously against me more than once. And so I've read all the case law. I know every ounce of summary judgment, especially in the state of New Jersey, which is the Brill case. And, it's an insurance case. But anyway, whatever. I'm just telling you, you're full of shit. All right, now here, to the layman, this is the easy version of summary judgment. Okay, is that, yeah, you want to get a case over with, right? You know you're innocent. Let's say somebody accuses you of murder and you know you're innocent. You basically can just file a summary judgment in the case saying, look, here's the facts, okay? There's no way I was there. I had no means. I had no opportunity. They got completely the wrong guy. The evidence is all crap. Here's why it's all crap. You basically just prove your innocence, right? You're not required to prove your innocence, but you're doing it just to expedite the process, just to say, look, there's no fucking case here. They have nothing. They have absolutely nothing. And then they're required on the other side to say, no, there's a real case here. See, here, I'm going to use the word discrimination. See, that's a word. It's an important word. There's Supreme Court cases about discrimination. You see, I'm allowed to say that word. So you have to explain how it's not discrimination, right? So now we could go to the case file here. The summary judgment motion filed by the state of New Jersey is laughable. It's hilarious. There's nothing in it. It's an empty document that just goes through what laws were violated. And what laws allow them to impose tax. But no court cases about discrimination. The word excessive isn't anywhere. No description of why the tax isn't excessive. So quite clearly in my complaint, I complained that the tax is excessive. That's called a charge. I'm making a claim. They have to prove that that claim is impossible to be true, that it's not possible that the tax could be excessive. Now, we all know that the tax could just be excessive, not just discriminatory, that I could make the argument that it's excessive, right? There's certainly a tax that's so high that you could say that's excessive, right? If you had to pay a tax on a car that was $1 million, everybody could see how it would be reasonable for you to go to court and say that's an excessive tax. So first, they have to deal with the charge I've made, the claim that the tax is excessive. So first they have to say why it's not excessive, why it's not onerous, why it's not outside of the realm of reasonable taxation, that lots of things are taxed 800%. Okay, so that's the first obligation they have. So they didn't prove that. They didn't demonstrate that. They didn't even use the word excessive tax. They didn't even in any way acknowledge the whole concept of excessive taxation. And yet this asshole says they proved it wasn't excessive taxation. They didn't even mention the word. How could they possibly have proved it's not excessive taxation? Then the second claim is the tax is discriminatory, that you have two situated individuals or three situated individuals. You have alcohol and you have bad eating habits. These are liberty interests. Much like cigarettes, they cause social damage. Much like cigarettes, they're a danger to children. So why is this vice taxed at 800% and these other two aren't? And if there isn't a good reason for that differential, the differential isn't allowed. Okay? I don't need special status to make that claim. It's a liberty interest. And you can't deny one liberty and allow another liberty in discriminatory manner if they're equally situated liberty interests. That's the law. So nowhere in the summary judgment motion any comment on that. So we'll go to that real quick. Well, as quick as I can. So here's the summary judgment motion, filed by the Attorney General's office, who doesn't think the judge has jurisdiction over constitutional issues. Under this document, they still believe the judge is correct in stating he doesn't have jurisdiction. So that's the Attorney General's office. The chief lawyers of the state have now misrepresented fundamental constitutional law and stated I can't argue my constitutional rights in their state court, which is wrong, fundamentally wrong. So they haven't even got a jurisdiction established correctly in this case. Well, anyway, this whole argument, though, there is no argument. They call this argument? There's no argument. It's undisputed that the plaintiff bought cigarettes. It's undisputed that we have a law. Here's Brill versus Guardian Life. This was the insurance case, which is really kind of a messy case in so many ways. About a guy who bought insurance before it was finalized and he died, and they paid the woman off, and it was a summary judgment in the case, and the Superior Court upheld it, blah, blah, blah. Well, I won't go into the whole thing, but it was stupid. Anyway, but you can see the idea of the case. So here's just some stuff. Yeah, we're allowed to tax cigarettes. Nothing in here about whether or not the cigarette tax is excessive. No demonstration. More just citing legal standards for what a summary judgment is allowed to do and what it needs to do. These are all pieces of law I would use in my argument. These are all laws that defend my position, not their position. But there's no argument. You see, there's the end of the thing. For the above stated reasons, there's no reasons in here beyond the fact that we have a law, we impose the law, period. No words about excessive taxation, no words about discrimination, no words about the incompetence of the state bureaucracy, no words about any of it, nothing. And this is their proof that the tax isn't excessive. This is their proof. That's what this document was required to do. It was required to prove that the tax, number one, couldn't be excessive and that it can't be called discrimination. So in this document, they were supposed to prove both. The tax can't be excessive and it can't be discriminatory. Where's the proof? That's the law. Now, you tell me, you find a lawyer that's going to tell me that's not the law, that I didn't just accurately define what the obligation of that document was. That document had to establish beyond doubt, okay, it had to eliminate my claim. It had to say basically my claim is erroneous, can't be tied to a fact. That was the obligation. Where was it satisfied? It wasn't satisfied. It's a non-argument. It was almost impossible for me to write an argument refuting it because there was no argument in their document. Amazing. So anyway, yeah. So let's continue. We'll play some of this.
You watch videos before you respond, Gary.
In the case was not allowed to argue.
Yeah, that's kind of fun though to take it as it comes. Yeah, I think it's more of a manly thing to do. You know, it's more like what us men do. Is that yeah, we let it come right at us and let it hit us right in the fucking face, and then we deal with it. Yeah, that's what men do.
Review constitutional.
You did argue them
in the case
in your complaint.
Federal Constitution.
No. I argued them in my argument, okay, but I couldn't argue the fundamental. I couldn't argue my 14th Amendment rights. I couldn't argue the United States Constitution. I had to make constitutional claims without referencing the Constitution because the judge had stated that he didn't have jurisdiction, and I wasn't allowed to argue my constitutional rights. So just keep lying about the basic fact of the case. So just keep lying about it. And so the judge admits it right in his decision. I lied. He basically says, he calls it misspeaking, but it doesn't matter. The damage to my rights is done. Yeah, but keep lying about it.
Specific laws being applied couldn't be referenced in the argument. And yet this should be legal precedent demonstrating how it's been proven. Now, in this part, he's reading the judge's decision.
Yes.
Now, the judge has basically gone out and had his staff quote mine federal law.
Again, quoting federal law is now quote mining.
No, the point is, you didn't let me finish, but see, if you would let me finish that sentence, you said you pre-played the video, so you should have known I was going to say, quote mine it for the arguments in most favor to the judge's position. And the arguments in most favor to the judge's position make my argument for me quite perfectly. I would have quoted the exact same Supreme Court statements because those statements explicitly say exactly the argument that I'm making is that there's no iron rule of same treatment, but the treatment must be consistent with 14th Amendment protections. Those arguments make the argument I wish I would have been allowed to make, but I couldn't make them because they said 14th Amendment. And he denied me the right to say 14th Amendment. God, you're so fucking dumb. Dumb. Anyway, we'll play some of this shit. We'll let him finish.
So if you ever reference a law in a court case, you are now quote mining, according to Gary. Because
oh, what a huge perversion. No, my point was is that he obviously, you're going, if you're a judge, you're going to find the legal precedent that's the most consistent with what you're trying to argue. So if you're arguing there was no discrimination, if that's your decision as a judge, you're going to quote mine the law for the court decisions that are consistent with your argument. And my argument was that here his quote mining, and his quote mining makes my case. That's my argument, that the best law he could find is a slam dunk for my side, you stupid fuck. Gee, it's just so fucking dumb. But that must be why little Edible Napalm likes you. It's because he's a little bit backward, too. Apparently. Much more backward than I thought he was. I mean, this is the quote from Edible Napalm. I don't know. I haven't got... these little time codes don't work, unfortunately. I would have liked that. So, me. Hey, Matt, are you fine with cigarette taxes? Napalm. I don't give a fuck. Okay. What can you say? I mean, really. I mean, smokers who don't mind $3,000 in tax. I mean, I guess Edible Napalm, some kind of rich guy, too. You know, I guess the family's taking good care of him. And he can afford $3,000 in taxes. Fine. I guess it's $2,000 in Virginia, but still, $2,000. But he hasn't been smoking very long, so maybe that's it. Maybe after he does that for a few years, he might realize, oh, you know, in the last 5 years, I've pissed away $10,000 in cigarette taxes. Could have done a lot of things with that money. Yeah, maybe he'll think about that.
By taxes or levies in excess of something like 10% on.
Revenue Act of 1940. Excise taxes temporarily increased most excise rates to 30 to 50%.
Newsflash. World War II. Yeah. Yeah, okay. I mean, all right, so he's making an argument that, you know, I made the argument that these court decisions, these cases, I've actually read these back in the time, right? Because I read the cases because the judge cited them. And, you know, there are cases where, you know, yeah, the courts were really hostile to this idea of even a 5% differential, small percentages in taxes. The court was highly sensitive to there being a rational excuse for such a imposition. Right, and we're talking about now we have cigarettes taxed at 800%. Again, this is, you know, all you people defending this shit, explain to me again, why did they bother during Prohibition? Why would they bother going to every state to get a constitutional amendment banning alcohol when all they had to do was use the apparently unlimited excise tax law, okay, and just tax it out of availability? They could have just put a huge giant tax on it and then nailed anybody who was drinking, not only for the tax, but for, as he puts it, tax evasion. So you'd have lots of laws. You could prosecute not only the drinkers, you could prosecute the providers. The government could make money on all of it, okay, instead of wasting money on Prohibition. Prohibition was totally unprofitable. They could make a huge amount of money by just taxing it. So why didn't they do that? Oh, that's right, because it was preposterously unconstitutional to use the tax code that way. That's why.
Yeah, Gary. Well, there's that. So, wrong, again.
Yeah, whatever. Like I said, I wasn't talking about World War II, okay? Yeah, sorry, no sale.
Just like when you said there was never any tax amnesty program that had, you know, a penalty attached to it. You know, they've never had a 5% penalty, and then I quoted Pennsylvania having a 15% penalty. So, I mean, it's just...
So he's gloating about it again. So let's just go back to the Pennsylvania law for fun. Here it is. 15% tax, right? And I did the Google search just like you, and I think this is the one I went to. Under Section 22, blah, 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 blah. Here we go. There we go. Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay, see, yep. Definition. Eligible taxpayers. Yeah, let's just go to eligible taxpayers. 6.3. Okay. Following criteria. Oh, this is a little different. All right. The prior subject to ongoing continual criminal alleged violation imposing eligible tax, amnesty period, criminal complaint, violation imposing eligible on tax, defendant pending criminal action. I don't know. This is a different document. Never mind. All right. Well, we'll find the one. Tax amnesty. What is that? Eligible taxpayers. That's the one I went with. And there we go. This is the part. All right. Here we go. Period taxpayer is subject to an ongoing, continuing. No, it's still the wrong one. Name defendant criminal complaint. I don't know why all this crap's in here. This is not the same document. It just can't be. So anyway, it's one of these. Taxation, Pennsylvania legislation. Oh, that's right. I want the 95 version. 1995. PA business day. Well, anyway, you saw it the last time. I'm not going to go through it again. Anyway, clearly immune from the penalty are individuals who have appealed the tax. Ha 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 ha. Pwned again, pwned, ha ha ha. Ha ha ha, gloat, gloat, gloat. I'm right, you're wrong about everything in the universe. Ha 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 ha. Because I was right about this and you were wrong again.
Gary, you lose all the time.
Yeah, well, you just lost again. Okay, so you got the fucking state tax document wrong, you got this document wrong. How many times are you allowed to be wrong before people are a little suspect about your proof? When you say you've proven something, I think your record is getting kind of pitiful.
I mean, I know. I mean, obviously, you know you've lost all the time. I mean, look at your fucking life. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, well, whatever. My life isn't this issue. Okay, the point is you lied about the state tax now, right? It's just a lie. You haven't apologized. So, and then you're lied here. Okay. Yeah, so fuck you. You're wrong again. Wrong.
No way they would justify taxing an item hundreds of times the value of the item. That would.
And, well, no item is being taxed 100 times the value of the item.
All right, so again, let's just for the sake of this argument, right, there's no reasonable argument can be made that the production cost of a pack of cigarettes is anything more than 75 cents. 75 cents is a high number in terms of what the actual production cost is with profit. The retail sale price is $7.50, and all the money is going to government somewhere, okay? It's not going to tobacco growers or any of this other shit. It's going to government, and that's the distinction. So 1,000% tax levy, 1,000% the value of the item is the price people are paying for the product. That's the fact. It's not disputable, it's not ambiguous, it's not uncertain. No one's confused here. I know when I bought cigarettes when I was a kid and I paid $3.33 for a carton of 10 packs of cigarettes, and now I pay $75. $3, $75. And all the difference is in government stealing.
To those courts, that would be preposterously lunatic behavior. So anyway, this is what the court's best argument is, and it's a great argument in my defense. The court basically are saying, yes, in no way can you avoid the 14th Amendment standards in applying taxes. Yes, of course the 14th Amendment applies. The court says it.
Well, Gary, again, they're basically talking about how you can't say tax an atheist more than a Christian or a black man more than a white man.
No, whatever that was. What was that? That's just bullshit. No, the Supreme Court said, okay, that of course 14th Amendment protections stand, but there doesn't have to be an iron rule of equal taxation. Just that similarly situated have to be treated similarly. That's the fucking law, you stupid fuck.
That's what they're talking about, Gary. There are specific protected classes of people, which we get to later.
No. This has nothing to do with protected classes. You just talked about two cases from 1940 whatever and 1950 whatever, both before the Civil Rights Act, before the existence of protected classes of people. This isn't about people. It's about fucking liberty. Something Thomas Jefferson knew about when he wrote the fucking Constitution. People had a right back then. Okay, and people have rights now. It's the same fucking rights, you stupid fuck.
In the video, and it's amusing because later in the video, Gary starts claiming like, "Oh, I never claimed that, cigarette smokers were like a protected class of people or a minority like all these other things. You look at all this rhetoric. He consistently...
Yeah, it's a minority liberty interest. I've called it that. You don't seem to understand the difference between a liberty interest and a minority as defined by some underclass of civilians who are discriminated against just for being that underclass. I never claimed that cigarette smokers are being discriminated against because they're a minority in the sense that they're being discriminated against because somebody thinks they're inferior. I'm talking about their access to their liberty. Their liberty is being taxed. You stupid shit. I talked about their representation and their protection from majority exploitation. We're talking about the behavior of the majority, not the status of the minority.
Compares himself as a smoker. He consistently compares smokers to atheists or Muslims or homosexuals. He does it. He'll do it again. He'll do it here in about 2 or 3 minutes.
So I'm going to play this part again. This one little thing.
Okay.
It's just so fucking obvious.
Of course, the states in their exercise of taxing power are subject to the requirements of the Equal Protection Clause.
Yeah. Well, there's the Equal Protection Clause. So listen to that part.
Of the 14th Amendment. But that,
Yeah, of course they are. So
There. So, yeah, it's enough said. So anyway, we'll come back to this. Oh, sorry. But what is the point? People are too stupid. They're just too stupid. You're just like, why defending it? I mean, if Matt, Edible Napalm, really said, I don't give a fuck. I don't he basically said, I don't care if you tax my liberty. So why legalize drugs, Matt? Let's say they legalized marijuana and they put a $50 tax on, 2 joints or 3 joints worth. If they tax the marijuana 800 or 1,000 times the actual cost of the marijuana, you'd say that's okay too? Maybe that's the only thing you can do. You have to compare everything to marijuana, and then Matt will understand the argument. Maybe. No, he probably can't understand it anyway. He's part of Fat Club. The Fat Neck Club. Oh, whatever. Oh, God. Yeah, humans just suck.
The health effects of tobacco, for one. And I actually have given you numbers on that, but that'll come up again in a few minutes.
Okay, so again, he's arguing that there's a huge difference, an 800% difference between alcohol's damage to human beings and cigarettes. Cigarettes are much worse than alcohol. That's his argument. That's his defense of the disproportion in the taxes, is he actually believes that alcohol is a much more benign vice than cigarette smoking. That's what he believes. I mean, that's his argument. That's supposed to be a reasonable argument. I'm supposed to somehow say that's not reasonable. No, it's not reasonable. It's preposterously insane. It's complete and utter nonsense. Yeah, that's what it is. It's complete bullshit.
the illegitimate one. It can't be because we're the majority and they're a minority. That's not a legitimate cause under the United States Constitution.
And that is not why there is a tax on cigarettes. So,
Unless you're this.
Yeah, so he says there's not a tax on cigarettes. If cigarettes still were a majority vice, his argument is it would still be taxed at 800%. The majority would say, yeah, we smoke too much. Let's tax ourselves $3,000 for smoking. That's his realistic argument to me. That if 50% of Americans still smoke cigarettes, okay, if it was still 1950, they were just really dumb in 1950, and they didn't figure out how they could make a ton of money by just taxing themselves for smoking. So the only difference between now and then, okay, they were called cancer sticks back then, so everybody